Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, December 7th, and we are back with NexTech and, what I refer to as the 100-bagger CEO, Evan Gappelberg. Evan, welcome back.
Thanks, Jack. Great to be back. Nice tie, by the way. It looks like is that a new tie?
Just for you, especially for you. So Evan, right now we're NexTech. We're coming into like the last days of 2022. Here's the amazing thing: NexTech right now is standing. It's really at the threshold of what I believe is going to be explosive growth. I mean, the foundation has been laid. I mean, you have the contracts with Amazon, everything that's been done. You got the spin out. Like next year, I believe could be an incredible year for NexTech. And I think it's important, really, first, before we talk about everything that's ahead, all the catalysts that could really drive the stock, create the value. I think it's important to first start off maybe to recap everything that's been done, which is laying the foundation for what could be really an epic year in the next couple of months starting.
Yeah, I do want to recap, but you know what, Jack? I want to recap a little bit about what I've done for investors, what I've done for shareholders in NexTech and even beyond before NexTech. So if you go all the way back, I've mentioned a time Take-Two Interactive Software. I took public back in the 1990s. I don't know if investors realize that I created generational wealth for some of my investors that called me up a decade later telling me how they're gifting their children and grandchildren millions of dollars in stock in Take-Two Interactive Software. Now, fast forward to current day, and let's not forget how NexTech was formed. It was a spin-out. NexTech was a spin-out at 25 cents a share. If you had invested $10,000 in NexTech at 25 cents, you would have ended up with 40,000 shares, right? $10,000, 25 cents, 40,000 shares. Well, at NexTech's peak, and let's just use peak for just a moment. We're just going to, dream that we're perfect and we sold at $10 a share. We know, some people did, but anyway, so the stock hit $10 a share. 40,000 shares at $10 a share is $4 million. Is that right, Jack?
400. 40,000 at 10 is 400, right?
$400,000.
400,000, still not bad,
okay.
Right? 400 grand.
400,000. Okay, we're not up to the 4 million yet. We're going to get there. Okay. 400,000. Now, let's just say you were able to take the $400,000 and invest that in the next spin out that I've brought to market.
AR way.
That's AR way. Now, that has gone up 10x, and then you get to the 4 million, right? $10,000 invested in the NexTech spin out would be worth, if you were able to parlay it.
Parlay it. This is the thing we talk about.
4 million based on now. You could take 90%, just lop 90% off of that.
Okay, so just 10 grand. The reality is this. The reality is investors, if somebody said, okay, look, I'm going to make a bet on the Evan Gappelberg Express. I'm going to put down 10 grand. That 10 grand, in theory, could have been worth $4 million.
Could have been worth $4 million if you continued to invest.
Yeah. But that just shows.
Now, I obviously, realistically, nobody sold at the top. But let's just say you were able to get, 10% of that gain. 10% of the 4 million is still $400,000 on the $10,000. Now, that's from 2018 Q4 to where are we now? 2022 Q4. Okay. So what is the point of me? I'm not telling you this to pat myself on the shoulder or brag. Let's keep in mind a couple of things. Number one, we did our AR way spin out. Number two, we're going to do additional spin outs. It could be as soon as Q1 2023. Not going to announce it on the show, but we are looking at this very, very seriously, very, very seriously. And there likely will be an opportunity for you, Mr. and Mr. NexTech shareholder, to invest in the spinout. Now, remember, I am the largest shareholder in NexTech, and I got a big dividend in ARway, right? My big dividend, if I have 10 million shares, I got roughly 400,000 shares, $2 a share. That's $800,000 on my money. And it's still just getting started, right? Now, if the same thing happens with the next spin out, and there's no guarantees, but it could repeat. History does repeat, as Jack likes to say. It starts to add up quite significantly and quite quickly. And so, when you think about
it's the compounding, the snowball. It's the warm buffet effect. I mean,
it does start compounding, but when you think about investing in NexTech, and this is critical because you got to take the longer term view, it's not just about being a one-hit wonder like a lot of other public companies. A lot of Jack's stable of companies that he's covered, they're one-hit wonders. They are one-hit wonders.
but
it's true.
But it's true.
It's true.
We talk about it. I talk about it in my book.
It's
Bag of Blueprint. Yeah.
There's plenty of one-hit wonders out there. Right? They have that moment. They have a moment, right? Okay. I've had so many moments that it's kind of pretty definitive that I guess I know what to do in terms of creating shareholder value. And I'm not done. 2023 is going to be epic. I've said, we had a 2020 that was epic, no question. 2023 is also going to be epic. And I'm predicting that.
I think, you know what, Evan, I really believe, and I don't know what you have lined up. I believe that what we saw in 2020, that 10x move or more, actually, that's really just a preview, a prelude to what the real story is. Because the company was just, the 3D models, the AR stuff, it wasn't even mainstream yet. It's going mainstream now. So imagine what happened then. Now this is the big move. It's sort of like, Amazon back in, I don't know when it came public, whatever. It had a move, right? But then the big move happened later, the real big move. So it's like what we saw was a preview, and then the big move is now because the market wasn't ready yet for the AR. But so imagine if what we saw with the stock. But I just want to add something, which is, look, I don't want to I don't want to sound over promotional or whatever, but look, I just came up with this book, 10 Bagger Blueprint, and one of the things I talk about is, okay, how do you find these stocks that have 10x to 100x upside, right? And the big thing I believe is, look, you got to have, when it comes to microcap stocks, you don't look for the 100x stock. You got to look for the 100x CEO, right? And those are very rare. I believe you're one of them, which is why I really believe that NexTech is going to be one of the big winners of 2023.
Are there any other?
It's not me saying it. Look,
Jack, do you work with any other? Are there any other 100x CEOs that you work with?
Not at the moment.
Because no, seriously, I'd like to.
10x. We got people. But look, the reality is this. The reality is you have a track record also in doing this. So that's
look, there aren't that many people that understand the ins and outs of the financial markets as I do, having managed money and worked on Wall Street for a long time. But more importantly, I've also worked on Main Street. And let's talk for a minute about, the significant highlights for NexTech. And let's talk about 2023 predictions. Okay, so we're going to just start with, a little bit of a year in review. If you think about what has been driving NexTech in 2022, at the top of the list, the number one driver is Amazon. Becoming a preferred 3D model supplier for Amazon was transformative for our company. Another transformative event, and this we had to work. We worked really hard at landing Amazon. These things don't happen easily, but also we were able to reduce our burn from a peak in 2021 of 2 million a month to now 500,000. That's a significant reduction, and it's going down even more. When you look at our 3D model business, the demand is now surging. We're getting major interest from enterprise companies, as mentioned earlier. If you think about the top three, we think we will have the top three. That's Amazon, Walmart, and Target. And we will announce as we land those. But for today, we know that we've landed Amazon. We know we have CB2. We know we have Kohl's, and we know we have over 100 other small to mid-size e-commerce sites that we supply 3D models for. If you look at 3D models, we do have a breakthrough in technology. We just announced a breakthrough with our AI, which is a big deal for 2022, and it really sets the stage for 2023 for our ability to scale and for our profit margin to go up. If you think about ARway, that's a huge accomplishment in 2022. It was spun out. It went up 10x. That's not insignificant. That means
in 10 days, by the way.
10 days. We created $50 million in shareholder value. 50 million. NexTech stock did not go down by 50 million. There was a lot of fear with the NexTech shareholders. It did not turn into a bad thing. It turned into a very positive thing for NexTech shareholders. And so we're going to repeat unlocking the tremendous value for NexTech and its shareholders of the companies, the technology that we have locked inside of NexTech. I think there's 3 or 4 additional spinouts, not including the 3D model business. I'm not talking about the 3D model business.
3 or 4. You're saying so 3. So okay, so there's 3 or 4 potential baby unicorn spinouts that could happen.
Yeah. And so that's and there's likely going to be one in Q1. I would just put that out there. There's likely going to be another one in Q1. If you think about ARway, we're integrating it into Map Dynamics, which is now NexTech Event Solutions. It's going to transform Map Dynamics into an event technology software solution. That could be a spin out very easily. I wouldn't be surprised. Remember, we hired in 2022 key executives to scale the MapD business. We are positioning ourselves and again shifting MapD into NexTech Event Solutions, which is going to disrupt the $50 billion live event industry. These are events that happen all over the country. Every week, there's another event happening at the Javits Center, at the McCormick Center in Chicago, and on and on. So we think that we're going to disrupt that industry and grab a much bigger piece of that pie. Toggle 3D, we've announced that that's going to be a big deal for NexTech. That is our CAD software in a design studio. It's the ultimate 3D design studio. You don't need any experience with 3D modeling. You can even use it, Jack. And I know you're not so techno savvy, but you could even create 3D. It's really super simple. And you know what? I would even put a potential spin out sticker on Toggle 3D. Could be spun out. If you look at our configurator, the ARitize decorator, and the ARitize swirl, those are 3 pieces of software, again, that support the 3D ecosystem. Maybe that's a spin out. If you think about all this technology, it all supports the world of 3D, which is really, in the end of the day, what Zuckerberg.
I think, look, ultimately, look. And again, I want to talk about, we can go into the details of the contracts, 3D model, all that stuff, what's happening in the industry. I still think it's very important. I don't think I've emphasized that enough. Maybe I have, but I don't think people have understood it clearly enough. Is that the reality is, again, with NexTech, again, like if I would look at this, the investment thesis for NexTech, it's really, again, it's like the same thing with Tesla. If somebody looked at Tesla as a car company, back whenever, it's like, yeah, e-cars, electric vehicles, whatever. But if you look, say, hey, I'm betting on the 100x CEO, that was the correct bet. I think with NexTech, essentially the correct investment thesis to bet, again, I'm not giving any advice here, but the correct investment thesis is, okay, I'm making a bet on the 100x CEO, because the reality is what NexTech was, the company is constantly evolving, and what we're talking about right now, the company might look completely different in a year and 18 months. The company keeps transforming, but the reality is the underlying, the idea though is, you in the CEO of the company has constantly been focused on creating shareholder value, and we're seeing that constantly. There's a focus on that. What I noticed with a lot of public companies, especially in the small cap or even especially mid cap also space, is that a lot of these guys, they're focused on the business, because they never really worked in the capital markets. They don't really understand investors' mindsets. I mean, they think that, hey, if we just build a business, widgets, whatever, the stock is going to go up. No, investors buy a stock because they want the stock to go up. That's the only reason somebody should buy a stock. It's that you buy it $1, it goes to $10. You repeat the process. That's what people buy stocks.
Yeah.
So they don't care if you have revenues or whatever. The reality is, NexTech essentially, it has a track record, an incredible track record of value, massive value creation, which I think it's unparalleled. I haven't seen anything like this. I don't know. We had the great companies back in, like Safeguard Scientific, Thermo. They did the spin outs and all that, and those stocks went to the moon. Literally, they were moon stocks.
Yeah,
I think NexTech, I think, is that type of stock for the new generation, for the 2020s. What those guys were doing back in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah, you're hitting on an important point, Jack. So you're right. Like, look, at a base level, when you think about investing, you're investing in a business and you want revenues to keep growing, and then the stock should keep growing with the revenues, right? I mean, that's really, and then, earnings and profits and EBITDA, whatever. Okay. But when you're dealing with these startup companies, it's not a straight line like that. You're not talking about Procter and Gamble or Coca-Cola, companies that have 100-year history of growing and global distribution.
It's a startup, basically.
And when you're in startup land, and this is critical, it's a completely different rule book. Completely different. Jack, are you in the city somewhere? I hear They're coming for you, Jack.
They're coming for the stock. They're coming to get.
Yeah. Jack, you probably should be on mute when they go by.
Oh yeah, hang on. Yeah, I should do that.
There you go. Okay. So as I was saying, it's a different rule book when you're dealing with small cap, micro cap, right? Because the businesses are not fully established. It's not a straight line. And that's when people like myself can really create the value, because it's a specialized way of thinking. It's not a straight line. And right now, what I'm doing with my team is we're looking at our assets, we're looking at our products, our businesses, and we're working on trying to create value for shareholders. And look, there's one path which is pretty crystal clear. If our shareholders don't remember, or maybe there's some new ones here, last quarter, Q3, we showed 192% sequential increase in our 3D modeling revenue. We're going to see another big increase in our 3D modeling revenue sequentially for Q4, and we think that that's going to continue throughout 2023. So the traditional business model of following a company's revenue and seeing the share price go and following the earnings and cash flow, that is in play. Make no mistake about it. That is happening. But in addition to that, we've invested in Jack, you gotta go on mute. We've invested in a number of technologies, Toggle 3D, our map dynamics, ARway, they're not really part of making the 3D models and supplying Amazon, Target, and Walmart and others. And so what do we do with those? Well, we could develop those businesses, but it costs money and it takes a lot of brain power. It takes a lot of my minds. I have to spend time strategically thinking about selling those products. We got to having salespeople and marketing those products. It's a different, we're not marketing ARway to Target and Walmart and Amazon. It's not the same customer for indoor wayfinding. I mean, they might buy it, but it's not exactly the same customer. So my point is that that's why these spin outs are so strategically important for shareholders to see the value of those spin outs, which already is evident with ARway, but also for NexTech to be able to focus on the 3D modeling business and deliver to these 800-pound gorillas, these huge customers. And so that's really what people need to think about when they're investing in NexTech, is that these spin-outs create massive value, massive upside potential with companies that are hyper-focused, laser-focused on selling and delivering the product that those companies represent, whether it's wayfinding, whether it's NexTech Event Solutions, whether it's a design studio for 3D models, whether it's human holograms. Those things need focused attention. They absolutely need, any startup needs focused attention. And NexTech, our focused attention is really on 3D modeling, as it should be, because
Yep.
that's where the revenue is coming from, right? That's where the demand gen is coming from today. And it's quite massive. When I say massive, I was working through the numbers the other day with my team, and it's something like 450 million models with just three big boys: Amazon, Target, Walmart. 450 million SKUs. That is massive. When you look at what we've done to date, and really the industry as a whole, the entire 3D model ecosystem for e-commerce is sub a million models. It's sub a million.
Right now, only a million models have been made.
That's it. Only a million models. And that's in the last like 10 years. That's in like 10 years.
Right.
So now you got 400 million plus 450 million with just those three big boys. That doesn't include a lot of others. I mean, you're probably talking a billion models globally.
The opportunity, the dollar opportunity.
Let's be clear, Jack. I think this is a 10-year run. A 10-year run. That's what I think. It's going to take a long time to develop an ecosystem.
This is not like a fad where it's going to be like do you remember back in the day they had the from documents scanning them, they shred the documents, they scan them, so it goes. So that lasted a couple of years. I mean, actually it did last like probably 10 years though. Actually,
no, this is not shredding. No, this is not shredding documents. This is more like high speed, internet, where right now, we're on a high speed. We don't even think about it anymore. 3D models are going to be made by AI, and we're going to be the 3D model, the AI engine that supplies the entire ecosystem. We're going to unveil in Q1 something that we haven't really spoken about. I don't even think I've told you about this, Jack, that we're going to have essentially an ecosystem where all the 3D models that we make are going to be indexed. And so as new 3D models come in, all of the parts and pieces are going to be together by AI. The AI is going to have this just massive amount of content. And when you think about it, that's going to give us this ability to really own the market. And that's the goal, is to own this 3D, market where We want to be the last guy standing, or at least the biggest 3D model supplier, because the opportunity is that big. That's basically when we started, why we got started. And if you think about supplying Amazon as a preferred 3D model supplier, and the other, big box retailers that we've been kind of talking about, there's no reason. There is no reason why we're not going to be that definitive 3D model supplier. When people say, "Where do I get my 3D models?" NexTech.
So there's $5 trillion in e-commerce that's going to be shifting. They got to go to 3D models. We're starting to see it now. The leader is obviously, you got Amazon, you got the other guys. So Amazon is giving you right now, so far, it's like what? It's a $7 million contract, which is just new. It's just starting now. This is not like it was last year. It's like in the last few months, right? So which is telling me that there could be a lot more just from that company. And again, this is not, 7 million doesn't cover all their SKUs, right?
No. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. Amazon has millions of merchants, millions. And each merchant has, I don't know, call it 10, 20, I don't know, pick a number. How many SKUs? And so multiply. Let's just say it's 20 SKUs times 2 million merchants. That's 40 million SKUs, 40 million. In 2023, Amazon's opening their platform to their millions of merchants to be able to bring 3D models onto the Amazon platform. It's never happened before. This is a brand new watershed moment for the entire industry. Everybody at Walmart, at Target, I don't know, any other retailers out there that mean anything, Jack?
I mean, that's
Wayfair. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah.
There's a couple, right? They're all going to sit up. They're going to read the press release and say, "Wow,
we got to get on board that.
We got to get into 3D models." Yeah. Amazon's opening up their platform. We have to follow suit. Game over or game on, depending on.
That's the big inflection point. That is the big inflection point for the 3D model.
And it's happening in Q1. Yeah. Right. Q1 is what? What is that? 3 weeks?
It's
3 weeks away.
3 weeks away.
Yeah. So from my perspective, this is really an exciting time between the spin out of ARway, which just happened, between additional spin outs, which are happening, between Amazon and everybody else pivoting $5.5 trillion, global e-com ecosystem pivoting to 3D in 2023. It sets the stage for what I think everybody is going to believes, and anyone that's paying attention. I mean, this is kind of like going to be the blow your hair back kind of growth in 2023 that everybody craves, that everybody wants a piece of, where it's like, okay, like let me find some stock, some company that has some alpha, where the revenue and
by the way, speaking of alpha, NexTech actually has delivered alpha, because if you look at the tech stocks in 2022, most tech stocks are down 75% or more. All the Cathie Wood stocks are down 75, 90%. NexTech is one of the, maybe, I don't know if it's the only one, but it's one of the few stocks that's actually right around the same level as it was up ahead a little bit, but it's at the same level where it started. That tells me that when the market stabilizes, this thing really is set up for a massive explosion, because it tells you the underlying demand for the shares. And imagine when the market neutralizes.
I think we got to give our shareholders credit for sticking with this during turbulent market times, right? Because the reflex reaction is, if you just read headlines, the world's coming to an end, stagflation, inflation, debt explosion, I don't know, their crypto scam, it's like every other day there's like more and more and more negativity about the world, not to even talk about politics. So all of that creates an environment where it's so much easier just to sell and look at your money. At least today, you could probably get 2-3% on your money. But again, I want to pat our investors on the back for holding their position, which I do think will reward them in 2023 and beyond by not getting scared out of the market. Now, let's talk about.
By the way, I think one of the reasons why the stock has performed is because, again, going back to the 100-bagger CEO thesis. Look, I mean, you've been very transparent in engaging with investors throughout this whole time. Most CEOs in the microcap space, they've basically been in hiding in caves. They're in caves in Afghanistan with Bin Laden or whatever. They're hiding out. They're MIA. They're not responding. No news. Nothing. Everybody's like MIA. And those stocks, people, if they don't hear any news, they dump those stocks.
Well, Jack, it's my job. Yeah. I feel like it's my job. I owe it to our investors. They put a lot of their hard-earned capital into our company, and so it's my job to inform them, and that's why I'm here. I'm literally here to inform our investors on what's going on in NexTech land, what's going on in my mind. And let's just talk about 2023 for a second. Again,
by the way, speaking of, we're also going to get to questions. That's the big part. So we're going to get we got a lot of great questions.
So
we're going to get to. That's the other thing we're doing here.
Yeah. So 2023 predictions: 1, maybe 2 more spin outs. Could be more. More Amazon size deals. Improving margin due to the AI taking over. Improving scaling capabilities, that means the production of 3D models, because again, the AI is going to take over. And 2023, in my book, is the beginning of a multi-year run in 3D modeling revenue for NexTech. It's just the beginning of a multi-year run. Now, let's talk about some 2023 positive macro level surprises which are not baked into the market at all. I believe that in 2023, the war with Ukraine ends. I do. I think it ends in 2023. I could be wrong because,
they're running out of ammo already. I mean,
Russia has a history of just grinding. If you look at the Afghan war, before we went to war in Afghanistan, Russia was there for like, I don't know, what was it, a decade or more? And so they do kind of grind, but I'm predicting, this war is in Europe. It's not in Afghanistan in the desert somewhere. This is in the backyard of Europe. And so I have to believe that the mounting pressure the war is going to end, and that's going to be a huge, huge positive for the stock market. My second prediction is the bear market ends. I think the bear market's going to end in 2023. Now, does that mean
February? I think February, March, because usually.
But let me quantify that. The bear market ending does not mean we go back to the heydays of the 2020s, which was like the 1999 year, right? It's not going to be like that. It's not going to be so crazy.
I think. For the stocks that have been like laying the groundwork, it will be like that, because remember, like after the .com crash 2003, all the stocks that were beaten down, the ones
they took off.
They took off. They went up back like it was 99. The guys who were kind of hiding out, they didn't recover for years.
Right. And so my last prediction for 2023, and this might shock you, Jack, is that the Wall Street Reporter is going to merge with the Wall Street Journal.
Well, Wall Street Reporter actually been around. It's about 50 years before the Journal, right? We've been in talks with Rupert Murdoch, because they have.
Jack, that was a joke. Jack, that was just a joke.
But it's 180 years. Wall Street Reporter, we're celebrating a 180-year anniversary.
Wait, you're negotiating. You're negotiating the deal right now, right?
Okay. The big news you left out. Apple AR glasses. Apple AR glasses.
Hold it, Jack. That's exactly what I was about to say. Is that my third prediction putting aside the Wall Street Reporter merging with the Wall Street Journal, is Apple releases its AR glasses, and that gives a huge boost to the technology sector and, of course, NexTech and anybody that's in the 3D augmented reality.
I don't think people understand how big of a game changer it is, because it's almost like you used this example last time. It's almost like, when the computers first came out, like nobody really needed, because there was no applications. So I mean, this has been backwards, because right now, you've had the 3D models, but the AR glasses is really what makes it really useful, as opposed to looking at the AR stuff on your phone. When you have the app for other, there's going to be so many applications. And here's what I think is going to happen from the investor standpoint. When Apple releases those glasses, there is going to be a frenzy of investor interest in the AR space, because you're going to be hearing about AR all the time on CNBC. It's going to be AR, Web3, 24/7. Because Apple, they have $1 trillion. I mean, literally, they have billions and billions, hundreds of billions to spend to make sure that this is, going to be, getting attention. And how many pure play AR stocks are there? There's really nobody except NexTech. I mean, especially in terms of real growth, pure play in 3D models in the right place at the right time. So I think that's going to be one of the catalysts. So whatever we think that, is the upside for the stock, it's going to be turbocharged by maybe 3 to 5x, because again, it's going to be part of a massive hot theme. It's going to be an incredible thing to watch. So, and this is going to happen, I think, from what we're hearing, could be the next few months, because that guy Jason Calacanis, the insider, he's saying they already got developers in their shop at Apple, basically.
And Jack, just to be clear, I think ARway is going to actually see an explosion in business on that news. Explosion. I mean, I'm using that word, I'm not just using that word. I mean that when the glasses come out, everybody's going to want an augmented reality wayfinding solution. It's just going to be the standard. And so ARway is going to explode. Obviously, shopping online and being able to see the 3D model in your space is going to explode. And then if you look at our design studio, Toggle 3D, even the events business, where you show up at an event and you're wearing the glasses, you're going to want to see something. All of our businesses, all of our spin-outs and potential spin-outs, they all tie back to the glasses. And so there's no question.
I think what's interesting, actually, I want to go back to what you said earlier, because in case some people may have missed out on this. So 2023 is really when things could really explode, because again, right, you already have this triple-digit sequential growth with 3D models and everything else. But the reality is, what's going to happen next year is, all of a sudden now you're going to have the AR glasses. So that's really going to turbocharge that whole market.
Yeah.
But also what you have going right now is you're going to have the AI stuff, which is really going to help you scale. So next year really is when you're really going to start being able to scale. So 24 is probably the real breakout year. So whatever happens next year, the year after is really when everybody's going to reap the fruits of everything.
Right. But you know how the market works. So let's say next year, let's just say next year, I'm not saying this is the number. I'm just saying, I don't know, maybe we do 20 million, maybe we do 30 million, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
But in 2024, you could triple that. It could be, 60 to 100 million, some really, really big number. And so what'll happen in 2023 is that they'll start discounting.
Yes.
Right? As soon as we hit the 50-yard line in 2023, people will start looking at 2024. And by that time,
basically the market's going to be priced. So the big money, I believe, from an investor standpoint, is 2023 is kind of the big. That's what I call the 10-bagger window. Which is in the book. I don't want to plug the book again, but the 10-bagger window is now. It's 2020. This is when the big money is made. Well, the real revenues is going to come in 24 could be, you go from 25 to 75, whatever. But now when you go from, a couple million to 25, that's that's what, makes it.
There's a reason why I bought another 250,000 shares. Let's just put it that way. There's a reason why. It's not for no reason. It's it was, I feel like I'm picking up cheap stock And to be honest, it's tempting to buy another 250,000 shares. I mean, all my chips are in on NexTech. And from where I'm sitting, I feel like there's going to be this enormous amount of wealth created in NexTech and in the spin out companies. The biggest challenge for us is actually execution. It's going to be, not easy to deliver.
Evan, let's go into some questions. We got some really good questions today.
Yeah, let's do it.
First question, Alibaba. I mean, you got Amazon. What about Alibaba?
I mean, really, they're in China, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So dealing with Chinese companies is very, very complicated these days. So we're staying away from China.
And there's more than enough in North America, Europe. I mean, yeah. Okay. Question, Evan, are you still entertaining a NexTech buyout? $1 billion market cap. You mentioned that as that's the goal.
Yeah. So what I've said, team. So today,
that's 10x from here. That's not even a 10x. That's 10x.
I mean, here's my thinking. First of all, before we would entertain any buyout, we have to complete the spinouts, right? Because if we did actually sell the company before the spinouts happen, if someone buys NexTech, they're never going to develop these businesses. They would just go after the 3D modeling and the AI, and they would just bury those other businesses. So from my perspective, we have to still do the spinouts. And then, as mentioned, anything can happen.
Can you help us size the 3D? Oh, good question. Can you help us size the 3D model backlog and how we should think about timing of revenue recognition from this backlog?
Levi, you're thinking too hard. Okay, we're going to release our numbers, and that literally will tell you what kind of revenue we're doing, and the timing of the revenue will be quarter after quarter after quarter. As far as backlog goes, we don't really release our backlog. We're just going to deliver on the quarterly revenue.
What about updating on the pipeline? Because I know people sometimes, in other words, like when you were doing old news every week about, hey, we got new this company's this company.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they start complaining. Oh, this guy's putting out too much news about now. So are you going to go back to doing the releases about new companies going into the pipeline? Because we haven't put that out.
No. So think about it like this. So before we had Amazon, we kept announcing deals and brands. I don't seriously, when you have Amazon, do I need to keep announcing?
I think you should. I think it's good. I think actually it would be good.
Seriously, what is the point? It's kind of like
the people like that. They like that. They want to hear the pipeline. So
I don't really see any point to that. So if we have Target, Walmart, Amazon, people still want us to announce Joe's Sofa and Joe's mattress company just ordered 100 models. Seriously?
Yeah,
no, not doing that.
Next, can you talk about the composition of your management team post spin out? Who left with AR maps? Is the departure positive, negative for legacy NexTech?
Okay, so let's be clear. There's no departures. The way it works right now is we have the same teams that are working on ARway when it's under the NexTech umbrella over, and they're still working on ARway under the ARway umbrella. But I'm CEO. There's still all the same people involved. We are hiring new salespeople for ARway. We are, essentially setting up new marketing campaigns. So nobody's departing. It's really just taking, let's say, 100 employees and dividing them up into pieces of a pie. And then you take a piece and that becomes part of a spin out. That's really the structure right now. So
okay, a couple of people are asking, Which should they buy, or which has more upside, ARway or NexTech?
Look, NexTech
Which of
owns.
your children do you like the most?
Yeah. So I'm not going to answer that, except I'm going to lay out two different scenarios. So NexTech owns 50% of ARway. Plus, it has its other businesses. So with NexTech, you get more of a diversified portfolio type of investment. With ARway, it's literally a bet on augmented reality wayfinding, and
Pure play.
that's it. It's a
Pure
pure
play.
play. So, if you want to just bet on augmented reality wayfinding, you buy ARway. My thinking would be, to probably divide some of the capital that you're investing, because the pure play is potentially, it could be one of those stocks that you do want to own. And so I think ARway is a must own for people's portfolios, just because first mover advantage. It's a spatial computing platform. Again, when the market goes bananas for everything 3D and AR, when the glasses come out, they gravitate to ARway more than they gravitate to NexTech. You don't know what the market's
Yeah.
gonna love, right? And so they might, and so that's why you gotta kind of own both.
Okay. Evan, you there?
Yeah.
Oh, no, because there was a internet connect. Okay, so question or comment or question. So Garrett is saying he doesn't like the idea that there's going to be a
Look
lot
at
of
Garrett. Wait, look at Garrett's icon. Who is that? That's like the brain. I forget the guy's
sci-fi. Some
it's
sci-fi.
like a brain with, looks like cannabis leaves. I mean, okay, so let's just take this with a grain of salt, because he's literally looking that, I mean, if that's who Garrett's representing, I'm not knocking you, Garrett. I'm just saying, if you want to be taken a little more, seriously by me, you can't have that character. But anyway,
but okay, but he has it's a valid question.
Put it back up. Put it back up. Put it back up.
Yeah.
Put it back up. We're not going to not answer his question.
Yeah.
I do not like the fact. That's your opinion, Garrett. That's okay that you do not like. That's like some people don't like chocolate ice cream. They like vanilla. Some people don't like apple pie. They like pecan pie. Whatever. You don't like it. Okay. I've been invested in NexTech since 2020. Well, I'm the founder and CEO. Okay. I have millions of dollars invested. So it's devaluing in your eyes. Again, look at your eyes. Look in the mirror. They look very red in this, unless heavily invested in the spin out. So let me just do the math. I'm going to try and connect the dots for you, Garrett. If you invested $10,000 in NexTech, you would have gotten $400 worth of the ARway spin out for free. It's now worth $4,000. That's a 40% return on your $10,000. Now, NexTech hasn't gone down. So if I can repeat that 2 or 3 times, you're making 100% on your money, plus you get all the upside in NexTech. Keep in mind, Garrett, we're a small cap company. If you were listening at the beginning of the show, we're not, like the big companies that have been around 100 years that don't know what to do with all their money. We have to be very focused on our businesses. The spin-outs are pure plays, and the spin-outs have dedicated teams that are focused in building those businesses. The spin-outs are creating tremendous value for NexTech shareholders. I think you're underestimating, and you're looking at this with a glass half full. You really should be thinking a little differently.
Jeff is asking, is there a chance that 3D model can be applied to eBay? Because a lot of SKUs there, but these are one-off type things.
So eBay, yes. So eBay is like Amazon. they have to open up their platform so that you can load the 3D models onto eBay. Today, you can't. They don't let you.
Okay. Let me just see. We got a question. Okay, so apart from the 4 businesses discussed as potential, the baby unicorn spinouts, does NexTech consist of other undisclosed technologies? Is there like an Area 51 where you have,
So there is. There's a lot of other undisclosed technologies. I'm not going to get into them other than to say that they're in the AI, artificial intelligence realm, and they're in this same lane as the metaverse and 3D and augmented reality.
I mean, I'm thinking, like, again, the company is constantly transforming. Again, the goal is to create shareholder value. Is it possible, again, is it possible that, essentially, look, you've been able to spot these disruptive, innovation, these disruptive technologies, early on, as we can see, with AR, which is it possible that at some point NexTech could become almost like I don't want to say like a technology incubator, but could you become like an ARC fund, but developing stuff internally or buying stuff, sort of like what Kathy Woods does with ARC, but except you're an operating company, developing, through M&A and then spinning these out to create more value in like a perpetual money-making machine.
Isn't that what we are, Jack?
Well, right now you're an AR company, but I'm saying going beyond just AR.
No, well, I don't want to go beyond AR because AR is a multi-trillion-dollar mega trend. I mean, you got to think of it like this. AR is a subset of this whole metaverse transformational technology. So the Internet of Things, AI, VR, AR, when you think of even quantum computing, it's all kind of out there, right? And so it's all converging. And when you look at, the 5G, that technology is really driving a lot of this adoption. Soon there'll be 6G or 7G. And so, the world is transforming, technology is transforming. We're in front of it with our transformative technology driven by AI. As long as we keep innovating, it doesn't really end. It doesn't really end, Jack. So the point is that, yeah, we're basically that company that you're describing today. It's just not fully baked into the market yet. Because
could you be the Adobe of AR?
Well,
like they just bought that company for $40 billion.
Yeah. So think of Toggle 3D as an Adobe-like platform for 3D models and 3D design studio. So if you look at Substance, Adobe Substance, it used to be Adobe Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator is kind of merging and converging, becoming Substance, which is their 3D platform. Toggle 3D is going to go head to head. The difference between Toggle 3D and what Adobe has is to work in the Adobe environment ecosystem. You need to spend hours and hours and hours learning, days, weeks, months. With Toggle 3D, it's instant on. It's anyone can use it. It's made for everyone. That's the difference. So, what do you think? Who's going to win out?
Yeah.
It's a rhetorical question, I guess. The holograms, if you go back to the holograms, the guy was talking about the holograms.
Yeah, we got. Question about hologram. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah, the human holograms are going to be everywhere. Look, Pokey, B. It's going to happen. Okay. Yes, we are planning. We're dusting off the hologram HoloX app, and we're now relaunching that into the event tech space. So, you need, these technologies need somebody to be driving them. And I can't drive 5 different cars at the same time. Maybe Elon can. I can't do it. I could create these 5 businesses, but somebody else he just has unlimited money. So it's kind of an unfair advantage. If I had more money, I could hire people to just, pay them, $1 million a year or whatever to drive these businesses. So in the end, I'm kind of the one driving it. And so the point is that the Hollow X, I agree, it's going to be everywhere. We are pushing that back into the market in 2023.
We got an interesting question here. Okay. Would NexTech consider allocating 5% of revenues into dividend stocks for constant Are you going to become like Warren Buffett basically? Is NexTech going to become like a holding of value?
See, I love that guy. That guy's thinking,
because again,
I'll tell you what he's thinking. He's thinking about creating value for shareholders, and that's exactly what I think about. And so, if NexTech has a windfall gain, like let's say ARway goes to $20, and we end up with, I don't know, $250 million in cash from that. Okay, you take the $250 million and the investor just said, you roll some of that into dividend stocks that start paying you 3%, 4%, whatever. Maybe you're making $3 million, $4 million a year in dividends that can be distributed to either shareholders or reinvested if we think we could do better. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of ways for us to create shareholder value, but that is an interesting way. I'm looking for ways to create shareholder values. The spin-out, the ARway spin-out, was the first spin-out that we did in an effort to unlock the value. We've talked about it over and over and over again. It worked. Is it definitive? I think it is, right? So why wouldn't we do that again? Why wouldn't we?
Yeah. It's interesting. If you look at like Berkshire Hathaway, right? If somebody was buying that as there were textile business when Buffett became, I think he was the CEO, when he took it over, he was running a textile business for a number of years before he got into all these other things, insurance, everything else, and now it's the Berkshire Hathaway we know. So I mean, it could be the same. I mean, I'm not saying that we're going to go, but NexTech, whatever it is today, if you think, it could be something completely different. But the idea has always been from day one, just like Warren Buffett, his whole idea was to create shareholder value. I mean, he didn't care if he was in the textile business, it doesn't matter. Just the idea is make the stock go from $1 to $1,000. And the same thing here. It's like, I mean, I think, okay, AR, whatever, spin out to this, that, whatever. The idea is to make the stock go from $1 to, I don't know, 1,000, but let's say 100, let's say 10. Let's get 10 first. We'll talk about the right. But the idea is shareholder valuation, and people are seeing it. I mean, the numbers don't lie. We're seeing what happened from day one, the first spin out to where it is now. And next year, what's on deck is really incredible.
Yeah, and just again, just to reiterate, NexTech was a spin out. Investors.
This guy's saying you're the next Warren Buffett. You're the second coming of Warren Buffett. I mean, maybe Warren Buffett could have you be the replacement because he's looking for a replacement, right? He's 90 or something.
I was thinking about, I own some Berkshire Hathaway, and I was talking to my uncle, who's a big Berkshire Hathaway fan and Buffett fan. And he's like, do you own, Buffett? And I'm like, yeah, I have a little. I want to buy more, but, I'm waiting for him to, it sounds terrible, but I'm waiting for him to die because the stock's going to probably go down like 10%. And then, we start talking about he's like 90, Charlie Munger's like 98. I mean, these guys, I don't know how they're living so long on Coca-Cola and McDonald's. I mean, they seemingly eat and drink junk food. I don't know. It's kind of hilarious.
That's the secret. I mean, it's
right?
Well, the idea is, I think if you create shareholder value, it motivates you to.
You can live forever.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea.
Maybe they just feel so good about making so many people so wealthy. that they can live forever. Look, I mean, you know, life is short, Jack, and from my perspective, you know, as CEO of a public company, my job is to create shareholder value, and you know, until I feel like I'm done doing that, I feel like you know, I owe it to the shareholders to continue to come on this show with you and subject myself to all these questions and and uh, and to your humor, Jack. I mean, you're hilarious.
All right, Evan. On that note, thank. But we had some great questions today, Evan. Thank you for answering. We had some good questions. It wasn't. This is not. We don't just ask puff piece questions. Whatever people like, every question we put up. This is not. This is all very transparent. Uncensored here.
The Wall Street Reporter strikes again.
Exactly. Okay, Evan. Thank you again. Thank you everybody for joining us, and hopefully we'll catch up with you maybe before the end of the year, but definitely in the first. No.
I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the last show for 2023, and we're going to roll into, unless something late breaking news. Look, if something dramatic happens, we will show up again.
Okay, because I know you've got big projects that you're going to be working on, so this is going to
there are some dramatic
Area 51 type stuff.
Yeah, but you know, things are slowing down. I know everybody's getting ready for the holidays, and so, you know, from my perspective, I think we've covered pretty much, you know, everything. You know, unless something new and dramatic.
You never know. Stay tuned, Evan. As you say, stay tuned. Evan, thank you again. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in January.
Yes.
Happy New Year to your 100x.